Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Jetty Jet Show. I'm Jetty, and today I gotta make some big corrections on yesterday's video. I was totally off, so I apologize to the 700 of you guys who saw the last video. Please forget everything. We're gonna start brand new. Basically, the figure I was drawing yesterday was not 6 heads, and it was 7 heads. I was reviewing the proportions today, and I was like, this is not making any sense. And I started lining things up, and it turned out it was 7 heads. So we're gonna have to do this again. And also, another thing is I'm going to teach you properly how to lay out the figure straight on. So if you didn't have a guide on the side. So let's talk about first why did I mess up on the last one? The last one was messed up because the lines of the spacing was getting longer as we were going down, and that tends to happen when you're eyeballing it. When I eyeball it. But let's look at the measurements. So first of all, we need to establish these. All right, we need to know these points before we draw. The first one is the chin, of course. The second one is the top notch of the chest, or of the ribs. Number 3 is kind of a fourth of the pelvis bone. 4 is middle of the thighs, or the fingertips. Number 5 is the center of the knees. 6 is the base of the outer calf, and 7 is the base of the whole figure. And also, really important, the middle of the figure is between the 3rd and the 4th line. So that's kind of the middle section. All right, so that's half of the figures. Let's write half. So I'm not going to flesh out the details. I'm just going to show you guys how to lay out the proportions. If you didn't have your guide next to you, there's 2 ways. Number 1 is first building your guide. Before you draw a figure, just have your guide on the side. You know what I mean? And divide this into 7 parts. And I like to do that just by eyeballing it. Let's draw the first division here. Let's say if we wanted a figure to be like this, okay? I would say we wanted that to be the head size because we want to fit the whole page. The next ones should be equal. So eyeball it like this and just draw kind of one after the other the best you can. It's going to start to distort. But doing it like this is one way. I don't even know, because seven heads is 7 is an odd number, and 6 is even, and it makes it a lot easier. But 7 is odd, so there's one way. Another way you can draw the rubric is just first of all draw a line, divide that in half. Okay, you can divide that in half. Now divide this into 3 parts, and we can eyeball that into thirds. And then you can add another section on the bottom like this, and that's 7 equal parts, roughly. Now, let's say, for example, we were drawing this straight on and we didn't have the guide, all right? Now, this is something I wanted to do, and I just watched the video and I was just like, I'm not teaching it right. You're not learning anything. So let's do it again properly. All right, so let's remember these points and then let's build the figure as we go. All right, so starting off with the head, you can draw it any size you want, okay? And that's what's good about having these proportions. That way, if you draw a head, say for example this big, you know how tall to make it. If you like the size of the figure, or for example, if you were to draw a figure that was this big, starting with the head, whatever size you had, whatever size you choose, that's gonna dictate how tall the entire figure is gonna be. So I remember when studying at art school, trying to fit the figure into the page, it just didn't make any sense. Sometimes it'd be too long, sometimes it'd just be too short, whatever. But just decide on the size of the head that feels right for you. That's the first step. All right. Now we're gonna drop a line down for the shoulder line. Where does that go? We want it to be slightly lower than the chin, and that's gonna show us how long the neck is. Okay. Sometimes necks can be really long. Sometimes they're super long. Not so much this long, but it depends, up to you. I don't know how long you want the necks to be. Maybe you want that long, but just kind of a typical neck length, just around there. Okay. Another thing that I didn't mention is how wide apart. That's going to be kind of the size of kind of 1.5 heads across. Okay. So, and it also can be a lot wider. Depends on how buff you want the character. Okay. So for a character like this, that's kind of a lean female figure. Then we're gonna have it kind of right there. We could even go even more narrow than that. Yeah, we can go even more narrow than that. See? See, I didn't. Let's draw the actual chest shape. Okay. So number 1, I'm gonna draw this kind of rounded shape here like this. and kind of come down like that. Okay, we're gonna figure out where to stop and all that stuff later. This part really doesn't matter because that's gonna be attached to the waist. But let's figure out the second line. See, that's what I needed to mention last time. I was like, dang it, I totally forgot. This is the second line for the head. Now we've established that. That's what? That's the center of the chest or the top notch of the ribs. From there, we're gonna lay down our third line. Third line is, all right, so next we're gonna divide another head down right around there. Okay, that's gonna be kind of a quarter of the pelvis bone. And we're going to draw this V here to represent the hip bones. We can also do them in disc shapes. Okay, and that just helps to kind of like indicate some anatomy. When you're putting muscles over it, you'll see kind of like little muscle indications. It's going to look nice. Okay, but that's about a quarter or a third of the pelvis. Okay. And the next one is really important because putting that down will tell us where the center of the figure is. So if that's the center of the figure here, that would mean we can extrapolate from there. We can gauge how much of the figure we have left. From here down, it would be their entire figure. There. See? All right, so next, let's add in the legs. So from the legs, we don't really have to measure anymore because we know the center of the leg is the hip bone or the greater trochanter bone. It comes out this way, and you can drop them down straight. We're just gonna have the character standing straight, legs equal distance apart. We'll do kind of another video where somebody asked about how to shift the weights in another video. But yeah, just drop them straight down with straight lines. There. Little lines indicate the base of the feet. Where are the knees? The knees are halfway between the entire leg. See? About like that. Let's draw this a little lower. It's a little too high. See? Like that and like that. There we go. That's halfway point. And what does that say? That tells us the center of the knees. The center. Not the top, not the bottom, but the center. Look. See? It just gives us a nice kind of proportion where everything's kind of balanced. Humans might have slightly higher or lower, but just for memory's sake, let's go center. Let's go center. We're going to use squares because our knees are kind of knobby, and squares will give us nice anatomy. So that's that, and we can draw out the ribs too. We can do this, like this, kind of rib shapes. All right, next let's add some pectoral muscles. All right, so slightly above that notch is where the pectoral or the chest muscle is. We're gonna do a little V here all the way out, kind of like wings. All right, wings. We'll just do this kind of ball joint that will fit underneath. And this is important, and I'm going to show you why in a minute. All right, let's draw the arm. How long are the arms? The arms will go down a little bit past halfway the middle of the thighs. A little bit past, but I'm just going to say mid-thighs. That's where your hand is. Okay, and like I said before, each section of the arm is a length of the entire head. Okay, so for example, if you were to bury your arm into your armpit, you can wrap your head into your armpit, and your head will fit perfectly between your bicep and your forearm. Okay, and how big are your hands? Hands are the size of your face. Put your palm on your face, and you'll see that's pretty much where our face is, right? So generally speaking, around there. Okay, and so that's how you would build your figure as you go. No guys on the side. Just knowing these landmarks, having these landmarks memorized, and doing them over and over until they're second nature. Let's measure this out. We have our first line, second line, third line. That's a little bit too low. Let me just change that. It's fine. A quarter, right? A quarter. Fourth line, fifth line, sixth line, seventh line. There. Now I'm going to show you what's wrong with the last one. Okay. So the last one, I had the feet ending at the sixth line. No matter how you look at it, Jet. No matter how you look at it, there's something wrong with this figure. I really just kind of flubbed it, pushed it, you know what I mean, manipulated it to make it work, even though it wasn't 6 heads. This, I'm more sure, I'm more 90% sure this will work most of the times. Everything's kind of not perfectly spaced out, but if you were to draw it kind of generally, it would fit nicely. So I think this is kind of a good kind of rubric to use if you want 7 heads, okay? And for the details, let's go over some of the details, all right? So for drawing your arm, let's first draw the shoulder muscle like this, almost like a cap. It caps over the shoulder muscle, see? It comes underneath the chest muscle and it caps over it like this. See? Now you have a shoulder muscle, okay? Now if I were to just draw it straight, we can just draw a lump here for the shoulder and then a straight line. But why is it doing that? Because of those muscles, okay? Okay, so circle for the elbow. I don't know, I like circle for elbows and squares for knees. I don't know. And just draw this shape here for the forearm. Mass here for the forearm muscle, and usually a straight line for the inner portion. And we're not trying to draw a really muscular person, so these straight lines will work just fine. This arm is way too long. See, just by looking at it, this is the head length, not over here. All right. So the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. All right. Lines for fingers. All right. And these shoulder muscles are way too buff. All right. So when you're drawing these ball joints, you can keep them kind of small and tucked close to the body. Okay. All right. Let's draw the hips and the thighs. So there's 2 ways. If you want to simplify the figure, you want to simplify it, just follow the angle of this pelvis bone and the hip bone down like this and around here. See, this is where the point reaches out the most and it comes back in from there. Okay. The other way is following the shapes slightly. Following the shapes slightly, and that's going to give us little indications of hip bones and muscles. See, this is kind of waist, right? See, that's where all of these things come from, but they taper off this way. The mass of that muscle goes there. Okay, for animation side, we'll do a straight line from the bottom of the inner pelvis, the pelvis bone, the disc. Straight line. We do a straight line, slightly curved. The inside like that, and again curved outside like this. See, because what's happening is the outside of the muscle is a larger mass than the inner one. See, that's kind of a gross exaggeration of our muscles. So we want to be subtle about it. We don't want to be too dramatic. But for this line, this is the trouble with this measurement. For this, there's really no landmark, so I'm just gonna say this is kind of where the outer base of that calf kind of tapers off and comes straight into a tendon area. This is kind of the tendon area of your legs. There are muscles in there, but there's a lot of tendons in there. These kind of rounded areas are kind of the masses for our muscles. See, the muscles fit right in there. Okay. All right, another side for this, a little trick on this side. How do you draw these the inner like muscle? How does that, if you don't want a straight line, you want some detail, we can imagine a large muscle extending itself from the top here like that, and then the inner side going up this way. See? So now you have kind of indication of muscles. See that? And kind of a straight line for the base of her crotch. Just like that. Now, make sure, see here, if this is the bones for the knee, give it some space. Give it some space for some tendon. All right. You don't have to suggest it too much, too heavily. Okay. And for the feet, we won't even deal with that. Let's go a little bit past the line of the base, just to show some perspective. Okay, some perspective, but they're wedges. Wedges. Okay. There we go. Much better. All right. none of this 6-head stuff. I will be doing a 6-head later because it's really fun and you can get a really cool effects. Think of like Final Fantasy, the original, from maybe that was 5 heads, I don't know, but maybe Little Witch Academia, for example, or kind of 6-head figures, and it's really fun because I think it lines up a lot easier since the middle section is the 3rd line and it's perfectly lined up. But you got to be really cartoony with it. See, cartoony, or it represents kind of children. And this character is definitely not 6 heads. All right, so I just want to get that out of the way. Oh, and the boobs. Oh yeah, very important. Okay, so the breasts, they'll be slightly below the pectoral muscle. Depending how big the breasts are, you know, they're going to be a lot lower or slightly lower. All right. There. And when drawing them, like I mentioned yesterday, you want to have the arc kind of droop this way, like this. You don't want those kind of curves, kind of C curves, to be perfect C's. All right. Or unless you do, it's up to you. But this kind of represents more kind of gravity. It's kind of pulling down. You know, it looks a little more natural. I think one last muscle that I left out is kind of the shoulder muscles here. You can attach them in to the shoulders here like this. Ta-da! Some collarbones like that. And where's the belly button? Where's the belly button? Well, belly button, you can draw a line here. And I've seen belly buttons way up here before, and I've seen them way down here. It's kind of crazy. Right, it's really crazy, but I like to kind of draw a midsection line here and just right around there. And for the details, that's for another time. This is only for you to basically figure out how to do the layout. And hope this helps. I think it helps me a lot because I really, haven't done this in a while where I actually broke it down. I just kind of do this kind of freehand. The more you do it, like I said, you're not gonna have to do this measurement, but when you're starting off, do this as many times as it takes until you can memorize it. Okay, so you don't have to go back and forth looking at these notes, but that's pretty much how you would do it. All right, so thanks so much. I'm gonna let this video play out from where I left off last time and finish up the character sheet. Okay, thanks so much for watching, guys. Take care and bada bada boom pieces. All right, here we go.
Now what can I do when my feelings getting stronger, and the way that you move, I can't take it any longer. I'm addicted to you. Oh, I love the way you're looking at me. I'm addicted to you. Let me show what I got for you, girl. So won't you come along? Together we're stronger. Show what I got for you, girl. So won't you come along? Together we're stronger. The night ain't really over. So baby, come along. Sit back, relax, turn off your phone, and I will make you feel at home. So baby, come along. Why won't you come along? Come along now. Come along with me.
Alright, so as you guys can see, I've got a few extra character poses and some expressions. This is a character sheet for this character, and thanks so much you guys for watching. Hope you guys learned something. Hope you guys liked it. Let me know if you guys want to see more of this kind of stuff, more tutorials. But until then, take care, and talk to you guys later. Peace.